All right, y'all. This conversation right here is probably the number one, probably the main thing that's stopping us from coming together. And so I want to go through it and try to break it down. Try to be as non-biased as possible. But it's basically the panel, um, and Jazz did a very good job at trying to speak up for the community. But it's like this conversation basically represents the rich versus the poor in the black community, because it is the people with money, the people in positions of power, the people who have managed to find success within this system that are the only ones that can really move the black community forward. But when they have this mindset that everybody should be able to do what they did, we can't move forward like that. They don't understand. I mean, some do, right? Some do understand the different struggles of other people. And they just don't want to acknowledge it because they don't want to take accountability for their community. They don't want the responsibility of trying to uplift their community. They just want to focus on themselves. And then you got some that are manipulated by those types of people because they can't really truly, when you spend so much of your time focused on being successful in this system, it takes away from your time focusing on yourself, and it takes away from your time focusing on your community's problems. There must be balance, right? When you care about something more than yourself, it tends to lead you into focusing on the issues of your community. And how much focus you put on that is a representation of how much you care. And very often, when I listen to conversations like this, I can tell that these people did not go very deep when it came to trying to figure out the issues and a solution to the community problems. As I said, most of the people that are successful, they spend most of their lives studying and focusing on how to be successful in that community. I mean, in this system that is built against them. Not really understanding that they had a good position, they had a better position than most to make it where they are. Not everybody is meant to make it where they are. Not everybody can make it where they are. And so they're completely just trying to simplify this issue as being, oh, you're lazy, or you're not working hard enough, when it's much more complicated than that. Not everybody is meant to move like that, right? Not everybody is meant to be a millionaire. And see, the issues in this society is the millionaires or the high income people are the only ones that can really cope with this system. The middle class is struggling on down. Middle class on down is struggling. And it shouldn't be like that. Everybody should have the opportunity to be within the middle class, first of all. If when you have a society of poor people, it's not because they're lazy, it's because they don't have opportunities. They don't have the jobs. They don't have the circumstances. Maybe they grew up in an abusive and toxic environment. And it falls on the leaderships. It falls on the responsibility of the leadership to fix that. But the issue with the black community is they don't recognize the successful people in the black community are trying to escape their responsibility for being the leadership of their community. They want to pass it off to the white people. And the white people don't want to deal with that. They know they created that issue. They don't want to deal with it. They want to be like, hey. And it's sad, like, if you're black and you don't want to deal with your own issue, what make you think the white people want to do something about it? But I'm going to play this and I'm going to try to get into it a little bit. And just try to break this down, because this is really what's holding us back right here. I can't think of anything else more than this. If we solve this back and forth conflict, I believe we can begin to move forward as a community.
Everything down.
Guys, let me ask you a question.
About black people and why we upset about it.
Okay, Jazz, I get it. Let me ask you a question. So what about the black people that are successful?
What about them?
Okay, so what did they do to get to where they're at? Were they in the past regarding slavery?
Girl,
when did they become successful? I'm confused. Like, why are we
baby, you gotta stop this. Because just because an individual can make it out the hood, an individual can do things to get to a certain level of success, does not mean that the community effort is the same way. And the thing.
Notice that negativity right there from Ava. I didn't hear her throughout this entire conversation, and y'all can type go to YouTube and type the title into the search engine to find this video, because for some reason when I try to put the link on there, it don't I get the link from the little share thing. Apparently I gotta get it from how else, maybe go on the computer and do it. But type that title in the search engine on YouTube. You should be able to pull the video up. But I noticed throughout this whole video, Ava, all she was doing was, this is some bullshit, this is that, this is that. It was very negative. She ain't really engaged into the conversation. And she didn't try to give any type of it was just all negative, man. I don't want to attack her, because that's another issue we have in the community. I mean, hurt people. And we gotta be more mature with how we deal with each other.
Is instead of having smoke for the people that actually destroyed our efforts on being successful, we would have been so much further ahead.
So Jess, what do we do moving forward?
Had they just left us alone.
Hold on. Now she asked the question, what about the successful people? And she was basically hinting, basically saying, if they could do it, why can't the others do it? And as I said, there's circumstances allowed them to be able to do it, and the things that they were willing to do, the things that they were willing to put up with within this system. Not everybody is able to follow that recipe to be successful within this system. This system is not designed for everybody to be successful. This system does nothing but, and majority of the people that's in the top positions don't get there from hard work. They get that from leeching off the back of others. And so when I listen to people, it's hard for me to think that they really truly care. I can't help but truly believe that they just don't care, and that they understand what's going on, but they don't want to take responsibility for the community. They just want to be on some individualist type stuff, right? They don't want to take on the challenge of trying to build up their community because they felt like they'd done enough building up themselves. But all you really did was capitalize on your skill sets that you were raised to develop, right? Not all these people had that parent not everybody had that parent, that successful parent in this system, to teach their child how to be successful in this. A lot of people had to figure it out on their own. A lot of people had other issues that kind of gave them setbacks to figuring it out. A lot of people were so focused on trying to survive the abuse, the mental, the verbal, and the physical abuse from the community, because that's another thing. Bullying is one thing when you're teasing, but there should be no bullying. I feel like in this society we have come to look at bullying as something that is acceptable. That should not be acceptable. There's a difference between teasing. Back in the days, kids used to tease each other, but they did not bully each other like that. And if they did, it was not as pronounced within the community as it is now. Like, it was not as accepted, and it was not done as much as it is now. So all these are factors, man. But on this panel, you got really one person that's speaking up for the community. That within itself lets you know, that within itself is something we all know that we should be doing, speaking up for the community. So anybody going against that is doing the opposite, regardless of their position. If you're going against somebody that is speaking up for the people, this person is telling you, stop attacking your community. And you want to argue with her about that and say that you're justified in doing so. No, we got to get on the same accord that we should not be doing that. Period. Because that is not, that's not a decision led with integrity. To be downing your people and talking about what they don't do and being all negative and stuff towards your people like that, knowing they've already been through a lot. And they want to sit up here and say, no, your ancestors been through a lot. The stuff that was done to the ancestors is a ripple effect on the people of today. You can't deny that. I noticed they cannot really deny what she's saying. They just want to come up with some type of excuse to ignore what she's saying. And that's the true laziness, in my opinion. When you don't want to, when you have no, and when you don't have that desire to put in work for your community, I have to believe that that's because you have something personal, some deep trauma within against your community. There's some internal hate towards your community. It's hard to, because I love my community, right? I can't think of nothing better to do than spend my life trying to figure out how to fix the problems of my community. Money has never been that important to me. I don't give a damn about some high-priced clothes and cars and stuff like. That don't mean anything except for to people in this matrix, right? When you can go out here and get the same clothes for half the, way less. They already exposing that stuff as being fake anyway. And people in denial like, oh, they lying, they just trying to get in people's head. Dude, all this stuff is not worth the money y'all paying for it, period. Like, it's crazy to me, but
would have had legacy. We would have had businesses.
Okay, so let's talk about the past. Let's talk about now. What about the black?
You can't ignore the past. The past has affected the now.
Oh my God! The past is literally recreating itself as we speak.
No. Black people are holding themselves back right now in 2025. More black on black crime, black robbing.
No. Oh my God!
Let me ask this question. Right. So Jazz is very passionate about this. Very passionate. So you did the research as to what the problem
no, because
is.
it's like the.
Am I
oblivious. The problem is and has always and will be.
Notice he came out and said she did research on what the problem is, so he acknowledges that she knows what the problem is. Now he's asking what her solution.
My bad, I didn't hear him. My bad. Okay, my bad. Sorry.
So, for the past 20 years, we've been reminded of what the problem is, right? My parents' generation, the generation above me, my generation, and your generation. So we know what the problem is, right? And we keep talking about it. What's the solution? You're very good at knowing what the problem is and seeing it. So what can we do collectively?
What can we do?
Collectively, yes. At this point,
what can we do?
We hear you. We hear the problem. What is the solution?
What we can do is be just as mad as when you hear black people talking about racism.
Wait a second.
Be mad at. Be so mad at racism that you don't
mad.
Now she came out and she said, "Be mad." He did not let her finish. He said, "So wait a second." Off the rip, just from him. I mean, because that was kind of a not so popular way to come out, right? But he's not letting her make her point. This is the only person that seems to acknowledge that what she's saying is right. And I could believe some of the quiet ones acknowledge what she's saying and understand what she's saying. But they're not really getting involved. He's the only one that really came in and acknowledged that what she's saying makes sense. And it seems his whole thing here is What can we do? We've already heard this over and over and over again. What can we do to just move forward? Because we need to move forward. And that kind of supports the other side's narrative of work hard, do the things that they did to be successful. Which again, not everybody can walk that same path. This system is not designed for everybody to walk that same path. This system is leeching and draining people. Everybody cannot get that position to make that amount of money that they got. Period. Not everybody can become an entrepreneur and make millions of dollars like Antoine or whoever. That is not a reality for everybody. As a community, those who are able to make the money supposed to then reinvest that money into their building up their community. That's how communities are supposed to operate. If you're not operating like that, you're not working as a community. You're not a part of a community. You're an individual. Period. And until that stops, until the people who are becoming successful recognize that they're the reason the community is not moving forward, until they start acknowledging that they are the ones that have that responsibility to reinvest into their community. Because white people don't have to invest into the black community. They definitely owe the black community for the negative investments that they have done, but they don't have to invest positively. And why would you expect them to when they spent all this time doing the opposite? If the successful people in the black community do not change their mindset, it will not move forward. It will continue in this spiral. So they stay on this panel trying to convince people not to invest in their community and just work hard and do that. They're convincing people to basically there's no point in even acknowledging slavery if that's all you're gonna do. There's no point in even talking about black and white or anything. Just focus on you is basically what you're saying. Ignore all the attacks. The people that have managed to find success in this community, if that is their argument, all they're saying is ignore everything. And work hard, and do what you gotta do. It's all they have to offer. That's all they have to say.
Being mad is a negative emotion. So being mad
is racism.
It definitely is. It definitely
we cannot sit here.
Well, why are we going to duplicate?
We can't keep denying.
Let her finish, Jazz. Let him finish.
I thought he asked me a question.
He asked her a question. She's speaking up for him to be able to finish. But he asked her a question and he interrupted when she was trying to respond. Even though she kind of triggered him with her initial response, she was not done with her response. When she came out, be mad, she clearly had more to say, and he interrupted that. But the narrator is speaking up for him. So their minds is already made up on whose side they're on. And it don't seem to be on the side of the person that's actually speaking up for the community, because she's not speaking up for herself. She seems to be doing pretty well in this system. This is the lady that's speaking up for the community, and none of them want to listen. I'd be surprised if if they put her on this panel moving forward. I'd be surprised if she is able to come back, because if you listen to the beginning of it, she was going back and forth with Antoine on it, and he brought up how he has her on this show, and she straight up came at him and said, "You don't have me on here because you like me." And then the other lady jumped in and started saying, "Oh, it's not he didn't pick it." It was messy, right? Really go through and watch it, but she was the only one that's really trying to speak up based on this clip, because this is not the whole conversation that he posted. But she was the only one trying to speak up for the community, and everybody else was trying to push back, fight against it. As if they cared enough to really think it through. Think through the issues of the community as much as she did. Clearly, she is showing that she has put in that effort to really think things through. And so if they're really serious about doing something for the community, they should listen to the person who has actually spent a decent amount of time coming up with a solution and recognizing the problems and coming up for a solution for the problem. It's no different than you having years of experience in your field of expertise, and then somebody who only dabbled and dabbled in it feel like they know better than you. When you make it, and as I said, he acknowledged that she clearly knows what she's talking about. He acknowledged that. Yet they still trying to undermine what she's saying. And so when I hear stuff like this, it's hard for me to believe that these people have the best intentions for the community. It truly leads me to believe that they just don't care enough to do anything. They don't want to do anything. They're only speaking on it because, for whatever reason, it ain't no positive one. Because if you have the knowledge, the connections, and the means to go out here and get some land, build jobs for your community, grow food for your community, develop education for your community, all the things that's needed for your community to grow and thrive, and you're not doing it, that is the reason the black community is not moving forward. And it's mainly the issue in America, because as you can see in Africa, they getting their stuff together. And you could say that's because mainly their family structures is still intact. So it's a little bit easier for them to well, it's not necessarily easy on them because they have to fight harder, right? They have to fight harder. The main part is them not being afraid to fight for their freedom in that situation. Here, it's a psychological thing. Here, we got to overcome the psychological misguidance, the abuse, all these mental issues we got is what's holding us back here. Because if we get our stuff together and we're able to truly support, because we can't really support Africa in the mindset that we in right now. Them Africans couldn't trust anybody here. Because as I said, majority of the successful people are compromised. Their mindsets are compromised. And so if the African people go to making deals with them, when all those people want to do is coexist in the white system, they can't be trusted. They don't want to develop their own system on their own. They have very low ambition. All they wanted to do is make enough money to buy expensive cars and clothes. Yet those type of people are leading the mindsets of people in their vicinity. They listen to these so-called successful people because they're so-called successful. And that's it. They ignore the mindset of these people that
But why are we going to duplicate?
Can you let me finish answering you before you start picking apart my response?
I watch this panel a lot, and I come on here, and I'm really trying to understand. But
I'm trying to get you to understand, and you keep cutting me off, bro. You either gonna let me answer the question or not. So like I'm saying, you saying what can we do? We have to be just as upset, because y'all are very upset whenever black people bring this shit up. But y'all never have any smoke for the real problem, right? So what we can do as a collective is get on one accord, is get on one accord, is support one another, is advocate for each other, make sure that our dollar is being flipped within our community so many times before it goes out, have more trust and love with one another, and focus on our own, because history has shown when we're left to our own devices as black people, we thrive. And that's why it was a threat. That is why we kept getting bombed out, flooded out, kept getting our communities and our businesses destroyed. And this is why we are so pushed back. Now, as a collective, that's what I'm talking about. I'm not.
There again with Ava. She really speaking from the heart right now, and all Ava can do is laugh in a negative, condescending way. She said, make sure the money is rotating within our community. How do you do that? You build businesses, hire your community. The only people that can do that are the people that have found success within this system. And what do they do with that money? Instead of creating jobs for their community, what do? They go and buy expensive cars, clothes, shoes. And ain't nothing wrong with wanting to look nice, right? But when you have a whole wall of shoes, a whole house full of clothes, like your damn closet is the size of somebody's apartment, and it's filled with clothes that's thousands of dollars. Like, that is an obsession That's not just wanting to look nice. That's an obsession, dude. That is a mental disorder. Straight up, that is a mental disorder. When that money could have been invested into your community, get jobs, so that these people work for you. You pay them the money they need to pay their rent. All your little successful friends, one of you create a business that produces a lot of jobs. The other build some houses, build some apartments for the people to live in. So when these people are working at this job, you send them to your friend who got the houses, who got the apartments. That money that you paying them at that job, they can pay their rent there at that person. That money is rotating within the community. And so that person who's taking the rent money, they can take that money and invest it into the community some other way. That's called leadership. When you get these businesses, you're in position to be the leader. I couldn't see myself doing anything other than that, right? Because I find that to be challenging and rewarding. If I were to start a business, or if I was rich, right, and I had a bunch of rich friends, black rich friends, and we come together talking about how can we help our community, because white people got their communities set right? They may not have them set right mentally, but financially they set. White people don't have to stress too much about making a living. They got jobs everywhere. So these rich people see that their community is being blamed for doing all the crimes, all the murders and stuff like that. What can we do? What can the four of us or the five of us can do to try to shift this narrative? Okay, well, this rich person, I'm gonna build a warehouse I'm gonna build a farm so we can grow some food. You could build a warehouse to process that food. Then this other guy, you could build apartments and houses to house the employees of the people that will be working in the warehouse and that will be working at the farm. And then the other friend can... This is the type of conversations they should be having with each other. But they're not, because that's not their mindset. Helping their community, it's not their mindset. And that needs to change. Because they're the only ones that can shift. They are the leaders of whether they want to acknowledge that or not. And until they all, and of course, it's never going to be a situation where all of them get on the same court, but the ones that know better need to be doing better. Come together with your successful friends. And I'm not saying that that's not already being done. That's not already, they're not already doing that. You have it going on. It's just not as known, right? But the more that come out and start doing that, come together and start working together and doing that are actually out here putting boots on the ground, taking action, that's where the networking need to be done. Awareness on what's being done needs to be let known, because I hear a lot of people, they're building homes and apartments, but I mean, what is those? Only way for those people to be able to securely utilize your housing is if they have, if they can afford it. And so if that housing is not free, which, I mean, operating outside of the matrix, what you would need to do, develop housing first. Bring in people that want their independence. Have their own, you're going to grow food on that property, on that land with the housing. You're going to come up with a way to generate income for that community on that land, whether that be the food that you're growing. Maybe you want to bring in some type of livestock to produce some type of, like sheep or something, to produce fur, to make clothing, whatever. That is the direction we need to be moving in, because the people that don't want to do nothing for the community, they're also the type of people that don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't want to go out here and dig nothing, dig no hole and plant no seeds. Now, what do we call them? The bourgeoisies? That's what they call them. They don't want to get their hands dirty. They don't really want to work for real. They want to sit in their office, make phone calls, tap on the computers. They don't really want to go out here and do no work for real. But yeah, I don't necessarily like cutting through no conversation like that, but definitely type that title into the search engine, look it up for yourselves, go through it, think about what I said. Hopefully the right people listen to this, hear this, acknowledge this, because until we stop this back and forth against something that we know is right, she's speaking up for the community, man. And then you got people investing their entire platform and speaking against the community. Speaking up for the community from here to here, but mainly it's shaming their own community. And of course that those platforms will do very well because they have support from white people, which was their goal in the whole first place. They want to appease to white people and black people. But when you really for your people, it shows.